This is why you need something that looks like this or like this. We call it at Vision Labs your data room. This is going to be everything how to build this, why you need it, and how to think about rolling this out to your entire team at your organization in a systemized fashion that you know what to do, you know why it exists, and you know how to act on it. So let's hop into it. I've made a quick little sketch here. This is nothing fancy, nothing really groundbreaking, but it illustrates a great point. Is you need to have your data and your numbers broken down by the questions you're asking. What I'd recommend is that you start looking at this and say, we're going to have a bunch, usually like 3 to 5 numbers at the top of your report that are the most important. You are then going to have one number that you put up here as a big, bold goal, right? So here, we're going to say this is our goal, and we're going to say the most important thing, if you're e-commerce, for example, is contribution margin. That's usually the most important thing. You might say if you're at high growth is like total revenue. And you can change this over time, right? I'd say recommend once per year you have this goal of like, this is the big number that we need to always watch. We're looking at contribution margin. We're looking at total revenue, net revenue, profit. Maybe you have close rate if you're info company or you have sales teams. Any of those ideas, you want one big bold number at the top, right? The next thing that you really have to consider here, and I'm going to put a little comment so you can see this, is what do you care about next? All right. So that is something that you really need to think about, is what do you care about next? I'll put a little comment right there, because that is going to drive what you try to look at these numbers by. So let me just give you an example. So total revenue is great. Say we want to have of new customer revenue, and we have new customers. Then we might have existing customer revenue, or let's just say here, we then have total sessions, conversion rate, and then total purchases. All right. So now what we have is these numbers that we think are the leading indicators, the highest, most important things that we can put at the top of the page. This might be different, right? We work with a lot of companies, from nonprofits to for-profits to e-commerce to software, everything in between, info, high ticket, low ticket, you name it, we work with it. So we have a really good system of structuring what these numbers should be and why you should care about them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this line chart, here's my beautiful line chart, and we're going to say, we're going to put options up here to drill into each of these options up here. So we want to have these new customer, existing customer, all of those options we can see trended. The reason being is that you might have new customers be at your goal, but your total sessions have fallen off a cliff and you're not seeing that yet because it's trending downwards. That's what you're going to have there. So the next thing you're going to say is, do I want to have, and I'll put that as a little note over here as a text block, is do we want to compare this to yearly, period, or both? I can't spell, but you get the idea. So do we want to compare this to yearly, period, or both? That is a great question, because sometimes you might be an annual cycle business. Think, I don't know, hot tubs, pools, summers when you make sales. So you want to compare this August to last August. You don't compare this August to January. That makes no sense. No one's buying a pool in January that I know of. And so that's what you want to ask yourself, is you compared that or both? The second thing is you want to also say is, do you want to compare this to target? Is, do you have a goal? Most companies don't have a goal. It's very uncomfortable to set goals because you might not hit them. And people just have really big goals of maybe the C-suite say, we want revenue to be 1.5 what it was last year. But what do you want your total sessions to be? Do you have an idea of what you want purchases to be? Or do you want these lagging indicators to drive the front end conversions? Okay, so compare this to target. I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. So just buckle up, sit down. Then we have all of these metrics, right? So what I'd like to recommend is that you keep some of these as a column and you say, hey, this column is off platform. So this might be like followers or like maybe impressions, right? Followers, posts per month or posts per day, usually posts per day. Then we have here, we'll have new customer. And this might be your new customers of saying, hey, we have new customer AOV, right? So the new customers AOV. We then have new customers, new customer revenue. Again, you can change this for what you kind of want there, but that's what we kind of recommend. Hey, if you have not downloaded the Data Order of Operations, I recommend that you do. It is the foundation guiding principles that we use here at Vision Labs to take you from where you are to amazing. It goes through 9 different steps. That is all the way from conversion tracking through to forecasting and profitability, and how you track every single one of them and why you should care about that and where you currently are. So go download it, visionlabs.com/DOO, download the Data Order of Operations, and back to your video. Then we might have this existing customer. And here we'll say existing customer AOV. So if they've already been in your system and they buy again, what is their average order value? Existing customers, and then existing customer revenue. All right, and then you have these other ones, and this is business dependent. Maybe you have leads, right? And so here you might want to say, okay, number of leads. And then we might have new leads, and you might have reactivated leads. And then lastly, you might have over here, if you want to go contribution margin, maybe this is more like finance, right? Contribution margin. Maybe you have cost to deliver and ad spend, right? I'm just making up this, okay? You'd run through this on your own to try and make sure that this makes sense to you of how much did we spend, what are we looking at, right? There's a lot of ways you can do this, and it really does depend on the function of the business. In my mind right now, we're working with a couple hotel chains, we're working with a couple of enterprises, and these are kind of what they're kind of moving towards, more or less. So this is, in general, your data room. How do you do this, right? So this is the goal of this is that you have this snapshot where every metric is broken down per day, right? So daily, what is this number? This is what it will look like in a database. I'm going to use a Google Sheet. We don't use Google Sheets. It's too complicated to get all these numbers from different things. We use BigQuery and Airbyte and a lot of ETL tools to get this working. But I'm going to use a Google Sheet for the sake of this example, and you can go and build this on your own. So what we want to do is we basically have a column that is date, right? I'll make this a little bigger so that you can all see along at home, right? And then here's what we'll do is we'll take this and say, hey, we have date, we have revenue, we have new customer revenue, existing customer. You get the idea, right? So all of these different rows are going to be those metrics. The beauty of this is 2 things. One, it allows us to do monitoring. So if you can take yesterday's data and average it against the previous 7 days so that you can have alerts go to your clients or your team saying, hey, this number yesterday is way out of what we expected to be over the last 7 days, 14 days, whatever it might be. It also allows you to keep things really simple, because what people start asking after you do this is a lot of buy questions. So say, for example, you want all of this data and you want to say, hey, I want to break that down by campaign. Now it gets really dicey, right? So you have campaign A, campaign B, campaign C. And this date is going to be for January 1st, right? 2020, let's just do 5. Here we'll do the same exact thing. What's going to happen then is now you have 3 rows for every single day for that one campaign. This is not the place to do that. The data room is not where you want to build your data like this. You want to have 1 row per day for every metric. You can summarize this from other tables and other things. Do not worry about that. But this allows you to build something that looks like this, that is dynamic, right? You have a date range at the top. Let me just put that here for you. So here's our date picker. Right? And so up here at the top, you're going to have a date range picker that you're going to then say, hey, this now is what we're looking at, and we can see that exactly how it looks. Here's an example that we love to use. This is just an overview of a bunch of clients smashed together. This is where we're looking at not targets. So again, there's previous period, previous year, and to target. So total customers, 92,000, new customers, 30,000, returning customers, 61,000. Again, you can see this idea of saying total revenue, new customer revenue. You can see all these KPIs, returning customer AOV, new customer AOV. How does that compare to previous period and the last year? So last year we're down 18%. Previous period we're down 8%. Then we have off-platform metrics. We have spend, AMER, MER, customer retention costs, new customer acquisition costs, customer acquisition costs. And this is an example of that same idea of a data room, but centralized, where every metric has its own trend line. We've done this a couple of times for different clients where they want to know, hey, at a snapshot this quarter, how are we doing? Where is that comparing to the date time that we have? So hopefully this has given you an example. You, again, just work towards having one row per day, and then eventually you can have more complications of having more buy questions. Go watch the video on buy questions around what you are trying to accomplish. So hopefully this makes sense. You now know what to do, and you can start building out your data room, or contact us if you would like to have us do that for you.